Well, good morning and welcome back to the Broadcast Retirement Network. I'm Jeff Snyder, and this is BRN AM for Thursday, May 21st, 2020. And here are our top stories. Signs of improvement in the residential real estate marketplace, and things are opening up for commercial real estate. Well, joining me now to discuss this and a lot more is Deidre Woolard. She is the editor of millionacres.com. Deidre, welcome back to the program. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you.
It's great to see you. So a lot has transpired over the last 9 weeks. Many Americans are quarantined for obvious reasons because of the pandemic. But this has had a dramatic impact in a lot of sectors of the economy, but especially real estate. So we're going to talk about commercial real estate in the second segment, but let's break down what has happened over the last 9 weeks in residential. So you go, and I'm sure I'm going to have some follow-up questions.
So the first issue, of course, is that you can't really transact real estate very well during this quarantine. It's been a challenge in terms of just getting people into a room to sign things. We've seen remote closings. Also, their open houses were off for a long time. And also a lot of the companies that were doing iBuying completely shut off and stopped doing iBuying. So you really saw the market. Usually this time of year, April through October, is when the real estate market is booming. Yeah. It sort of slowed to a trickle with a very low amount of transactions actually occurring.
Yeah, and that, as I mentioned at the beginning, this has a significant impact. You talk about this is the market. This is the time that homeowners who've been investing significantly in their homes, their condos, their apartments, whatever, and are looking to move them and move into a different area. I think this kind of bunches up that and really ruins that opportunity. Is it your sense that this gets pushed out and we actually see the buying season maybe in the fall during the school year? Because I know people like to move not during the school year, but there isn't a school year now.
Yeah, that's a good point. And that may happen. One of the things we're seeing right now is that buyer interest is going up. So traffic to Zillow and other search portals has gone up. Interest rates are obviously very low. So there's a lot of buyer interest, but there's not a lot of seller activity. So that's one of the things that sort of needs to shift in order to get this market moving again.
But we've seen, mortgage rates, I think, were down significantly, if I'm not mistaken. We had the Federal Reserve Act, and I know there's not a one-to-one relationship, but it does have like an impact down the line. Do you believe, just based on your own analysis and based on Million Acres analysis, I should say, do you think that this low mortgage rate environment could jumpstart that selling process, get more people at least buying, looking at inventory?
Well, we were definitely seeing that before this started to happen with interest rates being so low. But one of the problems now is that a lot of the banks are tightening their underwriting. Mm-hmm. So they're making it a little bit tougher to get a loan.
Yeah, and I mean, good point. And this is kind of like, I go back to 2008. We often I think a lot of people are comparing 2008 to what's now. And I would argue that now is even, it's like 10 times worse, because it's not just the real estate sector and the financial sector. This really has an impact across the board for so many Americans. But, you look back at what happened in 2008 and you did have some tightening after 2008 in terms of borrowing. Does this loosen up, and what's the impact to people of all different incomes and socioeconomic scales?
Well, I think another factor that we're also seeing is that we may see some migration. So obviously a lot of people are working from home, and a lot of companies, especially major tech companies, have said that their employees can work from home for the rest of 2020. Twitter said their employees can work from home forever. So we may see people actually moving to different places, moving to the suburbs. People, obviously, we've all been working from home. We're all seeing the limits of our houses. And so there may be people looking for more space too.
Yeah, I can tell you, my wife, she's definitely looking for more space. I mean, can you imagine having to put up with me for a long period of time? And we've been together for 9 weeks. We love each other, but it can be very straining on people's relationships, I would imagine. So let's talk about a little bit about the change in the real estate industry in terms of how real estate brokers interact, Zillow, technology. Technology is now playing an even more important role because, as you said, there are no open houses, or there are very few open houses. And if there are open houses, you got to kind of mask up, glove up, Purell, sanitize, and go in, go out. Are you seeing more people, use the phone, get video? You don't really get that feel for what the environment's like, what the neighborhood is like.
Yeah, so both Zillow and Redfin have said the amount of virtual tours have gone way up. One of the things about real estate agents, I used to work in a brokerage for a long time, they're a little resistant to technology sometimes, but that's changed dramatically because they had to adopt really quickly. The other thing we're seeing is on the transaction side. So remote notarization was allowed before this in about 23 states. Obviously, that's gone way up. A couple of states have issued emergency orders. I think New Jersey was one of them. And so we're really sort of seeing that transaction go completely virtual and get away from needing to be in person to notarize.
Yeah, it's still, I think it's like the Zoom meeting or the Skype meeting. It still lacks that personal touch. And I don't see how you can. I think it's difficult to move into a space if you really haven't felt it. You don't know what where you're positioned. You can say I'm on the 5th floor, but are you near a road? Are you going to hear sirens go by? Are you going to, are you in a neighborhood that's within walking distance? I mean, some of the things you can tell you. I think there's a lot of adaptation that's going to happen, not only for the real estate marketplace, meaning the real estate industry, but also for buyers. I mean, I think buyers of all stripes are going to have to relearn the buying process.
Well, and some sites have, like Realtor.com, for example, has a noise feature on it, which tells you how noisy the neighborhood is. So you're going to see a lot of big data used to help buyers make those kinds of decisions.
Yeah, and I guess there's always a technological answer. And I go back to your comment. Look, everyone is reticent to change. We all know that. We are all reticent to change. We want the status quo. We want to do what we were doing. So it's not just real estate, it's the financial services industry. It could even be the tech industry, right? But people, I think, are going to have to adapt to this new paradigm. Let's close out the segment. I want to talk about these reopenings that are happening across the country. We've seen some states, some areas liberalize or lessen, go into phase 1 of this removal of the lockdown. What does that mean to kind of the regionalization of home buying and real estate?
Well, real estate has been considered an essential service in most states, so there has been some transactions going on, but now we are seeing more open houses. We are seeing more, we're just seeing a little bit more activity. Also, as people are able to go back to work, they're starting to think more about moving. And so I feel that in the next couple of months, we're going to gradually start to see things pick up a little bit. The interesting thing, though, is that real estate prices haven't really gone down during this process. They were up about 8% year over year before this happened, and they're not going down. So that may change. One of the things that we are seeing right now is there is a moratorium on both evictions and foreclosures. So if someone was in distress, that probably isn't going to be a factor for another couple months.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up, and I know I lied. I said it was going to be the last question, but this is probably going to be the last question for the segment. We've got about a minute left. Evictions. People, 25, 30 million Americans have lost their jobs. A lot of people have kept their jobs through furlough, reduced pay. They may not be able to pay their rent, their mortgage. And so this has a trickle-down effect to banks, lending institutions, landlords who are individual landlords, people who got into the real estate business as investors. I have to think that this eviction statute that's happening at the state level, and in some cases, I think HUD also, the federal level has also jumped in. I have to think that this continues for the remainder of 2020, but I could be wrong. Are you hearing any tea leaves, anything that would signal that?
Well, the challenge here is that every state gets to make their own rules. So you're seeing a wide disparity in terms of what each state is saying. So some states are saying 2 or 3 months, some states are saying 3 or 4 or 6 months. And so it's a state by state thing, and that sort of has a ripple effect on the market in that area.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's going to be interesting to watch. I don't think anyone has a handle exactly what's going to happen. If they do, I would definitely question their motives. Deidre, we're going to hold you over. When we come back, we're going to switch gears and talk about commercial real estate. Really interesting, so stay tuned right here on BRN AM. Imagine a new television network that will make you richer, healthier, and in control of your financial future. This network is for the policewoman in Nashville, Tennessee, the baker in Dubuque, Iowa, the teacher in Lexington, Kentucky. We want to make the idea of savings and retirement culturally relevant. But what do you see as a defining issue of the midterms, especially for the smaller businesses? I mean, they are the lifeblood of the American economy. Featuring exclusive interviews, current affairs, and docuseries. 33 years old, you retired early.
The philosophy is money only matters if it helps you live a life that you love.
But you got to start thinking about retirement as soon as you get in.
The Broadcast Retirement Network will drive very high engagement with premium partnerships. So this isn't retirement and savings for your parents or grandparents. This is for all Americans. And we're going to change the way you think about money. Welcome to the next frontier of retirement and savings. This is BRN, the Broadcast Retirement Network.
The windows on our homes, they protect us and the ones we love, but they do much more. At Renewal by Andersen, making your home more comfortable is at the center of every window we make. It's why we custom build our windows in America and install them in as little as 1 day. It's why we build our frames with exclusive Fibrex composite material that's 2 times stronger than vinyl. It's why our glass helps keep your home warmer in winter, cooler in summer, and quieter all year long. It's why we stand behind every window with a 20-year limited warranty. Why not help lower your energy costs while giving your home and family the best? Call 1-800-835-6525 to schedule a free in-home consultation. Buy one, get one at 40% off with this special offer. Plus, get special financing with no money down, no monthly payments, and no interest for 1 full year. Renewal by Andersen, the better way to a better window. Call 1-800-835-6525 now.
Welcome back. We're talking to Deidre Woolard. She is the editor from millionacres.com. Deidre, thanks so much for sticking around with us this morning.
Thank you.
It's great to have you. Interesting segment on the impact of real estate. And again, I don't think anyone really has a sense for what this will happen, what the new normal looks like. We can all speculate, which is what we're kind of doing here. But let's switch gears and talk about commercial real estate, because social distancing, a lot of people are working remotely. People have all these businesses have and organizations have these spaces. What's the impact here to commercial real estate, the marketplace, et cetera?
Well, there's so many different factors to look at. So when we're looking at office real estate, there's a lot of work from home. Obviously, we talked in the earlier segment about different companies saying you can work from home. And that may mean a need for less office space, but we're also thinking about social distancing. And if these open floor plans that most offices have, if those will have to shift, if we see flex walls being put in, if we see, if every employee needs a good 6 feet in between on either side, that may actually increase the need for office space in some areas.
Yeah, it's a really good point. And you look at these big urban areas, Manhattan, where, I'm right across the Hudson River, Chicago, that they have big subway systems. A lot of the commuters, if they were to go back into the office, have to go through buses, trains, other mass transit. I think that's an area of concern as well, because I can tell you, I don't know if I want to go in to Manhattan right now and risk getting infected, especially when we're expecting a second wave. So I think that this is probably a paradigm shift. I think you're right. These open floor plans, we're reverting back to the norm, right? Because we went away from went to the open floor plan from having closed offices. Now we're kind of going back and reverting back.
Well, you also made a really good point about the subway. One of the things that we're hearing from Wuhan, China, is that there is an increase in people buying cars. And in China, they've always taken mass transit, and there is a move away from that because people don't want to be in close proximity with each other.
Yeah, but do you really think that people in a city of, what is it, 8 million in New York, or how many people work in New York? I just can't see people driving in. Where would you park? I mean, can you imagine I guess it would be good for the transit authority, right?
New York is not set up for that.
No, but can you imagine I think the transit authority, because the toll that you have to pay to get into Manhattan, they'd probably fund their pension for years to come if they did that. They were salivating doing that. But in all seriousness, I mean, this is a trickle down effect to so many areas. We talked about residential real estate, and you look at commercial real estate, you think about buildings, people getting back to work. You mentioned Twitter. I'll mention Facebook, that and Google, that are telling their employees, hey, look, stay out of the office. If I'm a business, even any type of organization, I'm rethinking whether I need to have my footprint, my headquarters here, because I don't see people making business trips in the next 7-8 months for the remainder of the year. I just don't see that happening.
Well, and that has the impact, of course, on hospitality as well. All of that conference traffic is completely gone, and that's really impacted the hotels because so much of that is the bread and butter of cities like Las Vegas, for example. I mean, that's a huge convention hub, and that traffic just isn't going to be there this year.
Yeah. So we were just talking about commercial real estate and the hard asset of real estate. So people buy buildings. They do that on the anticipation they'll be able to lease out space. But there's also something called real estate investment trusts, or REITs. And these would be, they typically own shopping malls. They may own healthcare organizations, right? Healthcare buildings, shopping malls, right? The retail sector has been significantly impacted by this and will continue to be impacted by this and return to some level of normalcy over the next few months, or the next 7, 8, 9 months. What's the impact here to these REITs and their ability to pay dividends to investors?
It's a really tough time for REITs. So usually when the stock market goes down, REITs are slower to go down. They're a little safer. That was not the case this time because of these closures. So some of the larger retail REITs, especially the mall REITs, are really struggling. And you've seen all of these Chapter 11s. You've seen J. Crew, Neiman Marcus. And there are going to be more of those to come. So a lot of these retail REITs are having trouble getting their rent from their tenants, and so some of them may have to pause their dividends.
Yeah, and that like we were talking about, I mean, we had this rising rate environment, and actually it was a positive thing for many REITs and commercial real estate in general. But this isn't a typical environment, and you're right. REITs may have to stop paying those dividends, which makes it, does it make it attractive for the long term? Maybe not in the short run. And again, we want to focus on this program on the long run. But I have to think that REITs will be continuously impacted. The commercial, hard asset of commercial real estate will be impacted. Am I wrong on that?
Well, there are some REITs that are doing well. So you have to look at what's happening right now with e-commerce. So if you're an industrial REIT and you're going to need a lot more warehouse space. If you're a data center REIT, we're all using so much more data. Mm-hmm. Data center REITs are expanding because their clients need more rooms. So I feel, in any situation, we're always looking for the opportunities. And so those are two places that are expanding right now.
Yeah, and again, it's the tech segment, which seems to be leading a lot of that. Tech has really stepped up. There's real opportunity there. And so I think you're right. I mean, data sharing, cloud sharing, got to have those big data centers, got to be able to Zoom or Skype or Microsoft Teams. Hopefully I didn't leave anybody out. Don't send me any hate mail. But yeah, I think you're right. I think investors are going to have to recalibrate. And among those long-term investors are pensions, endowments, foundations, people that are looking for the long term and have maybe been positioned at REITs. Do they rotate out to a subsector, a different aspect of the REIT market?
That may definitely be the case. Certainly, a lot of people are reconsidering how they feel about the retail REITs and the hospitality REITs. But we also have to make sure that we have that long-term mindset in place. This isn't going to last forever. We are going to find solutions, vaccines, antibody treatments. This is temporary.
Yeah. Well, my fingers are crossed, my toes are crossed, my arms are crossed. Deidre, always a pleasure talking with you. Thanks so much for joining us on the program this morning. Stay safe, and we'll talk to you again soon.
You too. Thank you.
And that wraps up this episode of BRN AM. Have a topic of interest or someone you think we should talk to? Drop us a line. And don't forget, for all the news in retirement, markets, technology, personal finance, and more, check out today's edition of The Morning Pulse. So until tomorrow, I'm Jeff Snyder. Stay safe, keep on saving, and don't forget, roll with the changes.
Attention! The Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services has officially authorized new benefits that Medicare Advantage plans may include. To get the benefits you deserve, you can call the Medicare Coverage Helpline.
Hi, I'm Joe Namath. If you're on Medicare, this is important information. I called the Medicare Coverage Helpline and they instantly looked up my coverage. In this one simple call, they offered to enroll me in a plan that includes rides to medical appointments, private home aides, doctors and nurses' visits by telephone, and even home-delivered meals. The plan also includes dental, vision, hearing, and prescription drug coverage, all at no additional cost.
Don't delay. Call to see if the new benefits are available in your area.
Call the number on your screen now. It's free.
Call 1-800-757-1451. That's 1-800-757-1451.